Well, the Syriac text of the Julian Romance was published in 1880 by Hoffman, followed by an English translation by S. Gollancz in 1928, which contains several inaccuracies. However, this interesting document did not attract much scholarly attention on it deserved. The life and works of the Emperor Julian the Apostate was subject to several scholarly studies, which almost completely ignored the Syriac Romance. In the past 25 years, only about less than a dozen studies appeared on the Syriac text. Studies on Syriac liturgy completely ignored the liturgical materials in the Julian Romance. This article, this paper, is a first attempt to put them together with a few brief comments. They could be used for the study of the early Syriac liturgy and should be understood in relation to the early Syriac prayers and the liturgical practices. The prayer that the author has placed, or the prayers that the author has placed on the lips of the pious and believing emperor, the restorer of churches, are most probably of independent origin, and some of them could be very ancient. They need to be studied in relation to the early Syriac prayers of the 3rd and 4th centuries. The Julian Romance exalts the ideal of martyrdom and the witness of Jovian, the believing general who served the Emperor Julian the Apostate and who succeeded Julian to the throne. It was certainly written in Edessa, for the document exalts the faithfulness of that city, where unlike Antioch, Haran and other cities in the east, Christians refused to welcome Julian. The work refers to several liturgical practices probably existed in Edessa and its surrounding regions, and quotes several prayers, some of which probably reflect older patterns of prayers and could perhaps go back to the 3rd century. The author identifies himself as follows, I quote, "I feeble servant of Jesus Christ, Apolloris, the confidant of Jovian the king, prepared these documents for the distinguished and beloved one of God, Varghese, chief of the convent of Santron Behusa, that wise man and lover of knowledge, who requested us by his servant to write for him the history, the sequence and the methods of the war which took place in our days. He asked us to begin our history with the sad death of Constantine, the believer, as well as the days of Jovian, restorer of the churches." Unquote. Thus, the author's aim was to write a history of the Christian kings from Constantine to Jovian. He claims that he was a witness of the events and he had given a true record of the history. I quote, "We have written these accounts one after the other in form and order as they have occurred and took place. We have neither exaggerated nor diminished in that which has happened before. We have been witnesses of these events." The document contains an account of the martyrdom of Eusebius, Bishop of Rome, at the age of 97. In fact, this Eusebius is nothing other than Eusebius of Nicomedia. And then the author chides the infidelity of Antioch, because Antioch received the Emperor Julian the Apostate with great pomp, and then it exalts the fidelity of Edessa. The narrative exalts faithfulness of Edessa, which unlike Antioch and Haran refused to open the gate to Julian the Apostate. Aristotle, chief of the city of Edessa, told bluntly to Julian's messengers that Edessa is a Christian city which is falling to the folly of your paganism. Then Edessa is a city of Christ. I quote, "She does not even know you as king, for the king of Edessa is Christ, and he dwells, that means Christ dwells within her fortress, and the stranger has no power over her, unquote. Then the document refers to the church buildings that existed during the time of the Emperor Julian the Apostate. Under Constantine, beautiful churches were built across the empire. When Julian wanted to destroy them, his general Jovian advised his master that instead of destroying them, they shall be used for pagan cults. Thus, Jovian saved them from being torn down. Then the document contains not less than 1 dozen of prayers of various length. Large part of the romance is in fact consists of Julian's biography. I would say the Acts of Julian, because the author follows the style of the apocryphal Acts. And presenting Jovian as a true successor to the Emperor Constantine. Sometimes Jovian is presented as the Christian counterpart of the Old Testament kings David and Solomon, who in a sense exercised a priestly function. We shall give the prayers that are placed on the lips of Jovian, and some of them were probably inspired by the Psalms. We don't have time to read the whole prayers. The another interesting account is the account of the coronation of Jovian. It is one of the oldest rituals of the coronation of a king that we have. Julian the Apostate was killed in the war with the Persians. Jovian was made emperor by the army, even though he was unwilling to place on his head the crown worn by a pagan. Jovian sanctified the crown by placing it over a cross. Then he made the army promise to worship the cross. The story claims that Jovian was crowned not by men but by Christ himself. Here we have the first description of the coronation of a Christian emperor. The story claims that Jovian used the ceremony to mark the reconversion of the Romans to Christianity. I quote, brethren, one must admire the marvel and the faith and knowledge of Jovian, the perfect one, that all the methods he employed tended towards gaining to repentance, the thousands and 10,000s who were with him. For when they approached to put the crown of royalty on his head, according to the custom of the law and the ceremonies which the Romans observed, in order to show his detestation of paganism, he would not receive it from their hands. And then, according to the account, the crown was placed on a cross, and Jovian knelt down before the cross. I shall read the text. I quote, when Jovian has finished the words of his prayer, the whole of his army prostrated themselves and worshipped. Jovian made the sign of the cross on his breast and on his forehead. He approached with ardor of his faith. He inclined his head before the cross. The crown of royalty descended and placed itself on his head. The hand of man had not approached it. The Romans as a body were stupefied and marveled at this miracle which was wrought. They cried out and said, henceforth Christ is our King in heaven, Jovian is our King on earth. Unquote. According to the Syriac history, Jovian was crowned in the Persian territory at Beth Armaya on river Tigris, north of Ctesiphon, on Friday, 27th June 363. Then again we have several prayers and a veneration of the cross at an important place according to the document. This Syriac story points out the importance of cross in the liturgical life. As we have seen before his coronation, Jovian made the sign of the cross on his breast and forehead. This seems to be the usual way of making the sign of the cross. Even the crown worn by the pagan king was blessed and sanctified by placing it over the cross. In the coronation ceremony, apparently the cross was the central symbolic object as Jovian was found in the battlefield in the Persian territory. Since the time of Constantine the Great, cross was regarded as the sign of victory. Though Julian the Apostate professed paganism, he did not abrogate the tradition that cross shall go in front of the army. The other rights, I thought. If Julian had transgressed it, he would have been blamed, and the Romans could have an excuse for saying the victory has not been given us only because the sign of success of our kingdom has taken away. On this account, did the tyrant connive at this sign and did not have it taken away from the camp of the Romans, unquote. When he became emperor, Jovian always set a cross on his right hand side. Thus, the pagan kings who supported Julian escaped from being killed by Jovian by grasping the cross which was set on the right hand side of the king. According to the story, when Jovian visited Edessa as emperor, the cross of gold was placed on the top of the canopy prepared for his honor. The document adds that it was the same cross of gold which had been made with great care for King Abgar, and that in his days it was fixed in the royal palace. In Nisibis, cross was placed on the altar, which was probably the only major symbolic object on the altar. Then other liturgical practices, fasting. The document refers to fasting. When Julian's letter revealing his plan to take vengeance on Edessa was read before the Christians of Nisibis, they decreed a fast for the hard trial of Edessa and engaged in constant prayer and supplication for their brethren, children of the blessed Edessa. And another interesting information, the most preferred liturgical color was probably white. Thus, white color was preferred for solemn occasions and probably also for liturgical celebrations. Thus, after his coronation and peace treaty with the Persians, Jovian was returning to Constantinople. But the Edessians sent a delegation urging the emperor to visit their city. They were dressed in white. When Jovian visited Edessa as emperor, all the streets were draped in white. The clergy and the nobles of the city were also dressed in white. The city having been adorned and beautiful, the heads of the churches and the officials of the city clothed in white went out to meet him. Then, regarding the celebration of the Eucharist, probably there existed the custom of votive offering of the Eucharist. Thus, Edessians requested the new emperor Jovian to visit their city, for they have vowed to offer Eucharist on his behalf. Then the visit of the emperor or an important dignitary was probably marked by festivities and the celebration of the Eucharist. Thus, Edessians told Jovian that if Julian was received in Haran with great festivities and pagan religious ceremonies, how much more today should the Christian city rejoice, receive glory, etc. Then, probably on such occasions during the visit of important dignitaries, the choir of children sang hymns of the church to welcome the guest. Thus, in their request to persuade Jovian to visit their city, Edessians told the emperor, I quote, it is most surprising how the young people and children of Edessa who have left off studying their books at school and ever ready to peruse in their houses of instruction the hymns of the church which the savants have composed for the orthodox of our faith, unquote. It is indeed really surprising that the name of Saint Ephraim does not appear anywhere in the story. We are unable to give a satisfactory explanation to it. The story gives the impression that the custom of building chapels or churches over the tombs and relics of the saints was a Roman tradition, and it was introduced in the Persian territory after the peace treaty between Persia and Rome. And then, towards the end of the story, Juliet is presented as a saintly healer that exalts the saintliness of Juliet. The story carefully highlights the faith and saintly life of Juliet, who uprooted paganism and restored Christianity. The author follows the style of the apocryphal lives of the apostles and early hagiographies. Thus, it gives a long description of a healing miracle that Jovian had done in Edessa. We can rightly assume that the author might have followed the style of a popular legend regarding the healing performed by a saintly figure of the early church. Sometimes the author adopted words and phrases reminiscent of the gospel accounts on the miracles. For example, when a woman was sick, approached the Emperor Jovian, the soldiers rebuked her and pushed her from before him. This righteous king, on seeing she suffered from her sickness, was very pained. He ordered that she should be brought to him, thinking that she was going to ask for some gift. When approached the king, she prayed him, I pray you, merciful king and full of grace, have pity on me so that I may be healed of this malady which I have, for it is 8 years since it has tormented me, and it has not yet left my frame. The king was troubled by these words, and then he said, I am not a prophet, and that I can heal you from your sickness, nor am I an apostle that I restore you to health. The woman asked to him, King and Master, it is not healing that I request you. I know well that my sins do not deserve that favor, because I have learned from several persons concerning you that you are a just and holy man, that your prayer is heard and received before the good God. I afflicted one, beg of you, and I, miserable one, supplicate you to beseech God for me, that he may quickly put an end to my life, since I am wasted by sickness and suffering. And then Jovian prayed in the church for that woman, and finally she was healed. And then the author, in the conclusion, the author asks, God worked several other miracles by the hand of this true Christian, but the time is too short to extend them all in this narrative. Unquote. Then the author concludes by giving the goal of the story of Jovian to present him as an ideal Christian king. I quote, that which we have more or less chronicled is as a memorial to the children of sin, in order that they may learn some part of the story, how the hand of the Lord accompanied Jovian in all his doings, he being a man who burned with the love of God with all his heart, with all his soul. He kept his commandments and acted agreeably to his will, doing what was good before him all his days. He walked in the ways of Constantine and did not turn from them either to the right or to the left. He exalted and did honor to the just and restored to it treasures which Julian the wicked had taken from it. Jovian loved to walk in the right ways of the Lord, to act with justice and fairness during the whole of his reign. Unquote. Then we come to the conclusion. Syriac Julian romance or the life of Jovian, or better, the Acts of Jovian, which seems to be a better title, was written with precise theological motive in a pseudepigraphical style. It is an encomium by a monk who was certainly an admirer of the kings. The most noted characteristic is that bishops and clergy play only a minor role in the life of Jovian. In order to exalt the life of Jovian, the author ignored important figures such as Saint Ephraim. Even Bishop Varghese of Nicetis has only a minor role to play. In the healing story, it is Jovian, not the bishop, who was present that prays and lays hands on the woman. On one occasion, Jovian acts like a bishop. He blessed Edessa with the sign of the cross. Even in his coronation, no clergy was present. The crown was placed on the top of a cross, and Jovian himself prayed, and the cross descended itself to Jovian's head. Though monks were very active and popular in Mesopotamia in the 4th century, they are given no role in the story. The life of Eusebius of Rome, within inverted commas, the life of Eusebius must be of independent origin, and the author must have edited it carefully and incorporated into the life of Jovian. According to the story of Jovian, prayer is the expression of our faith in God. Thus, Jovian's faith is manifested by his prayers. He was a believing king guided by God. Nowhere in the story we find any moral exhortation or a discourse on his faith. Life itself is the most powerful and convincing exhortation. The presence of Christ is manifested not in eloquent sermons, but in simple faith and prayer which demonstrates it. Jovian's faith was simple, like that of many lay people, both monks and married. The author demonstrates that one who believes in Christ and can perform great miracles. From a literary point of view, the prayers of Jovian provides an example of early Syriac prayers, their language, content and style. They need to be studied in relation to the Psalms, prayers of the Bible, early Syriac prayers found in the apocryphal literature. With a couple of exceptions, the prayers are addressed to God. A few are addressed to Christ. The prayers probably belong to a period when Trinitarian theology was not that developed, because the prayers do not show any trace of developed Trinitarian theology. The prayers make no reference to the Holy Spirit. It's really surprising. So the prayers make no reference to the Holy Spirit, which could suggest a period around the Second Ecumenical Council of Constantinople, 381, as the date of their composition, at least the date of the composition of the prayers. The text contains no Miaphysite vocabulary. That is very important because Naidake and Fanisbrock suggested a 6th century redaction. So the text contains no Miaphysite vocabulary and no reference to the 5th and 6th century Christological controversies that divided the East. So the hypothesis that the document was composed in the 6th century is open to discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Varghese. We do have about 2.5 minutes for a couple of brief questions or comments, please. Dr. Roberts, please.
You have a view yourself on the name, because there have been various states offered, either the late 5th century or the 6th century. We have the late 4th century come. Do you have a view on the date of the Julian Romance yourself? Because it's been dated by different people, end of the 4th century, 5th century, 6th century.
Well, as you know me very well, I'm not an expert in to make a judgment on the language and style of the Syriac text. But Deuteronomy was the first to suggest 6th century, and then it was followed by Manuscript, and then the book by Philip Wood, which appeared in 2010, also suggested 6th century. But Professor Drivers argued for 4th century. Well, I think one can argue for a 4th century redaction, at least for the prayers. But it's an interesting question, and Professor Drivers in his articles he suggested we need to translate it again with the notes and a detailed introduction. So I think these things need to be studied again.
Thank you. The English translation is very inaccurate.
Me.
Thank you very much. Any further